Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow now. Let's get started. Once again, an internet chat between Michelle Duggar and Jessa Seewald, one of her daughters, has emerged. Viewers and reviewers alike are devastated by it now. They find it all tragic and feel bad for Jessa especially. To learn all about it, read on. This week, a clip from an episode of 19 Kids and Counting from 2014 made its way back online, exposing a chat that took place between Michelle and Jessa. Click here to see the video. Michelle and Jessa discuss her relationship with Ben in the video. It had been a couple months since Ben and Jessa's first date. So he's like super emotional, like a feeling kind of person, and I'm really not. Jessa tells her mom, because I'm so straightforward. He always texts me the most heartfelt messages. After that, Michelle Duggar gave her some advice. Despite her usual straightforwardness, the mother of 19 children advised her daughter to express her gratitude by saying, "Oh, Ben, that is so sweet. Oh, thank you." She went on to say, "It's likely that he receives love the same way he expresses it. You, on the other hand, will likely work on mastering the skill of communicating with him in the way that he needs to hear your love. Plus, you'll be learning a lot." Viewers and detractors of the Duggar family have reacted to the video by pointing out the strained bond between the mother and daughter. An individual brings up a point that Michelle Duggar made when she said, "Nothing like visiting with your own children who live in the same house as you." Many are lamenting the fact that Jessa is being pushed to alter her character to suit Ben. Somebody says that Jessa is acting this way because she wants him to approve of her. Someone else brings up the fact that Michelle is seeing Jessa's personality as a defect. Ben and Jessa are married and have 4 children now, despite their differences throughout their courtship. Clearly, therefore, something was successful. What are your thoughts on this discussion between Michelle Duggar and Jessa Seewald? What are your thoughts about their relationship? Post your opinions in the space provided. Since the publication of Amazon's Shiny Happy People, which revealed some of the more sinister sides of the Duggar family's beliefs and way of life, several parts of the Duggar family's history have been revisited. And discussion between Michelle Duggar and her daughter Jessa Seewald, formerly Jessa Duggar, has grabbed viewers among the emerging memories and experiences. It captures the specific grief that may occur in such a controlled setting. In this conversation, Michelle Duggar and Jessa discuss the family's lifestyle, faith, and some of the struggles Jessa has faced growing up in the Duggar household. While the conversation initially seemed like a wholesome mother-daughter exchange, fans now see it differently, reflecting on how this moment foreshadowed struggles that would emerge later in Jessa's life and the ways her relationship with her mother and her family as a whole has evolved. Growing up as one of 19 children meant that Jessa's life, like her siblings, was planned out with strict expectations. From the earliest years, the Duggar children were taught to follow the principles of the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, which emphasized unwavering submission to parental authority, adherence to traditional gender roles, and a distrust of the outside world. These principles made up the backbone of the Duggar household and shaped every aspect of Jessa's upbringing, from what she wore to how she thought about her future. This particular conversation between Michelle and Jessa reportedly happened when Jessa was just beginning to explore her independence, around the time she started courting her now husband, Ben Seewald. It was a time of significant change for Jessa, as she stepped into adulthood while still balancing the immense expectations of her family. The resurfaced conversation shows how Michelle tried to impart her own beliefs and values, hoping to guide Jessa into a path similar to her own. Yet the tension hinted that Jessa had her own thoughts she may not have felt free to express. Many fans now see this talk as symbolic of the heavy expectations placed on the Duggar daughters. Each daughter, Jessa included, was expected to carry on the legacy of their parents' beliefs without question. And for someone as strong-willed as Jessa, that wasn't always easy. While Michelle's words were full of love and encouragement in this conversation, some fans now feel that they took on an unintended undertone. Michelle often spoke in terms of ideals and expectations, describing what it meant to be a godly woman or a submissive wife. For Jessa, who was still figuring out her own place in the world, this conversation may have felt like a reminder of all the things she was expected to live up to. As she listened to her mother speak, Jessa's reaction seemed polite yet guarded. In retrospect, some fans believe that Jessa's silence in that conversation may have masked deeper feelings. It's possible that Jessa was already grappling with the reality that her upbringing wasn't as idyllic as she once believed. Her body language and brief responses have been interpreted by some as hints that she was struggling to reconcile the expectations placed upon her with her desire for a more open life. What adds to the heartbreak of this conversation is the knowledge that Jessa had very little choice but to remain silent. The Duggar family's lifestyle, guided by IBLP doctrines, allowed little room for questioning or deviation. Jessa, as a daughter raised in this environment, likely feared that any expression of disagreement or desire for independence would be met with disapproval. 3. How this conversation foreshadowed Jessa's later life. As Jessa grew older, she continued to follow the Duggar family path in many ways, from courting to having children in rapid succession. But recent years have shown that Jessa is beginning to question aspects of her upbringing, as seen in her growing relationship with her sisters who have left the IBLP circle or expressed disillusionment with the Duggar family's lifestyle. Jinger Duggar Vuolo, Jessa's younger sister, has openly discussed her departure from the family's strict beliefs, and this seems to have influenced Jessa as well. In this way, Michelle and Jessa's conversation foreshadowed Jessa's path. Although she is still a believer and holds on to many of the values she was raised with, Jessa has shown signs of reevaluating some elements of her life, perhaps with a more critical eye. Recently, she has been more willing to question the rigidity of her family's beliefs, and her choices around raising her own children seem to be evolving too. This shows that, while she respects her family's foundation, she's not entirely comfortable with everything she was taught. 4. Michelle's impact on her daughters. Michelle Duggar's influence on her daughters has always been profound. She raised her girls with strict standards, preparing them to become wives and mothers with roles centered around submission, humility, and service to their families. However, as the Duggar daughters grow older, it's becoming clear that each has a unique response to these teachings. For some daughters, like Jill Duggar, Dillard, and Jinger, the teachings have ultimately been more restrictive than liberating. Jill, for instance, has publicly distanced herself from the family and even published a memoir that examines the effects of her upbringing. Jinger has taken steps to adjust her beliefs to fit her modern lifestyle in Los Angeles, alongside her husband, Jeremy Vuolo. Both sisters have shared that their paths have included painful realizations about their upbringing, though they have made peace with their decisions. Jessa, meanwhile, seems to be caught in the middle. While she hasn't publicly condemned her upbringing, she's also not fully embracing the extremes of her past. This resurfaced conversation with her mother serves as a poignant reminder of the pull between the influence of her mother and her own desire to find her path. 5. A bittersweet legacy. Ultimately, this conversation between Michelle and Jessa is both heartbreaking and touching. On one hand, it represents a mother's love and genuine belief that she is providing her daughter with the tools for a fulfilling life. Michelle truly believed that teaching her daughters to live within the confines of these principles would ensure their happiness and salvation. However, with the benefit of hindsight, fans now see the restrictive nature of these teachings, which left little room for individuality.